and all our community members that are joining us. We want to call to order the meeting today being Tuesday, August 25th, our regular meeting of the month for the South Euclid-Lyndhurst Board of Education. It is now 6:07, and we want to call the meeting to order. May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mr. Bloomberg?
Present.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Ms. Lee Harris?
Here.
Mrs. Ryan?
Here.
Perfect. We'll go right into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to
the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for
all.
That lag is hilarious. All right. Do we have any liaison reports? I do thank you guys for going them last time, so let's see what we have tonight.
I do have one. Catherine, if you do, feel free to go first.
Oh, all right. I have two, neither one specifically dealing with students, interestingly. The first is from a male father, Stephen Nuno. He is a K-12 editor at EdSurge, and he's talking about the title is Parents Are Getting More Involved in Remote Learning. Is that a good thing? Obviously, you all are feeling this. I have actually been working with 4 first graders the last couple of days, so I'm seeing it firsthand as well. He has pulled several different educational sites or groups. One called Learning Heroes. He found that 2/3 of surveyed parents said they're more involved with their child's education today than ever before. I think that's probably pretty typical. Another one, Pearson, who they put out the lot of learning and testing information for students. They said that 80% of parents had taken a bigger role in their kids' education in recent months. And it's a data science firm called Civis, more than a quarter of parents said they or another family member typically plans the education activities for their children each day. So the question is, what does that look like, and is it really a benefit to the students? One expert that he spoke with, who wrote his dissertation, his name's Eric Black, wrote his dissertation on parental involvement in virtual schooling. This was back in 2008. Says that one of his most important findings was how students perceive parental involvement is important. So sometimes that's more important than actual time that the parents put in. He says parents and children have very different ideas about their parents' level of involvement. Parents perceive their involvement at a much higher level than children perceived it. At least as far as we saw, it was really the child's perception that mattered the most and translated to outcomes in a positive way. Some of you have been sharing, and I've heard from other parents, that they are feeling more integrally associated with their students' education, seeing the teacher's responsibility in a sense in a very new way. He says that Black's study was narrow in scope and didn't look at trends, but one finding suggested that when parents got too involved with instruction, student outcomes were poorer. So there's kind of a give and take there, that parents encourage students to do their best, and that they know that their parents are involved, but they're not, helicopter parents. It's important, he says, to remember that parental involvement works on a continuum from no involvement to turbo helicopter parent. And somewhere in between is a perfect mix. That right mix is very much an individualized thing. So again, doesn't give a scientific answer as to, how much do you get involved with your kids' learning. But I think it'll be interesting once COVID is over to see how that has changed parents' involvement, in their day-to-day students' day-to-day educational learning. The second is why teachers of color. The second article, is by a doctor of middle and literacy. She's a literacy coach, a teacher, assistant principal, and curriculum director, and a human resources diversity director. Her name's Christy Lynn Turney, who is now the CEO and founder of Dr. Christy Lynn Turney LLC and EdPD Unlimited LLC. But she wrote about why teachers of color are leaving and what we can do about it. I don't see that happening in our district, which is good. But she said, and this is sad, but she said that the number of Black teachers in particular is dramatically declining across the country. So one of her teachers said, I can't be the Rosa Parks here. She was an African-American teacher in a fairly new school, but she lacked support from her administrators. And she said that despite her role, Christy Lynn Turney's role in diversity and human resources, she felt helpless and could not offer many words of support, even though I knew her battles firsthand. So she finds that, and just very briefly, it's important, and that teacher actually left that new school. It went to an inner city school that had far less amenities for teachers, but she felt like that was a better place for her and she could be more of a help. She said that it's important that teachers, that there are teachers of color, that they do boost the academic performance of students of color and of white students as well, which I thought was very interesting. That includes improved reading and math test scores, improved graduation rates, increases in aspirations to attend college. So they are really helping to narrow that achievement gap. She also encourages us as administrators or as school board members, as teachers, to show support to teachers of color, that they are, we've seen this in the news recently, that our people of color are receiving, we're just seeing it now, I guess, some of us, that they're receiving more of a light on what's actually happening in their lives. So we need to show support for them. There needs to be a commitment to diversifying in our schools, rather than just, as she says, check the diversity box. We need to show leadership possibilities, to encourage them into leadership roles, and also that the focus needs to shift to a certain extent from just testing requirements to actually making a community of diversity in our learning communities. And that's it for me.
Thank you for that, Catherine. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So I do have a couple questions. When was that article written about parental involvement? Does it have a date on it? You're on mute. We can't hear you, Catherine.
Sorry about that. Some of his research goes back a few years, but it was, let me see if I have the date. It came out in the spring, April of 2020.
In April of 2020.
Yeah.
What triggered? I guess I was just trying to figure out like what triggered. But you said that's an old article. Did that come up in like a OSBA notification or?
Yeah, it did. But the whole article isn't old. But this Eric Black, who is an associate professor at University of Florida, he had done his research back in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this author, Stephen Nunu, was referring to.
Was the significance of him talking about the parental involvement, like because of the pandemic that we're experiencing now? So we have more people. Is that what the
Yes
was in that article?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other article, as far as like, did it speak of the percentages of teachers who are African American across the educational platforms?
It did not give a total number. He just said, or she just said that a report by Learning Policy Institute's Desiree Carver states, that's the what she found, so the statistics that she found as far as encouraging students to be challenged and to be more successful. That comes from this Desiree Carver. She herself, because she's a diversity, a professor of diversity management, she, I think, had done the research and found that teachers of color have a higher turnover rate than white teachers. And this was what was depressing to me. The number of Black teachers in particular is dramatically declining. So why that would be is, I would guess that they're not finding that kind of support. Oh, and then that whole check the box attitude. We need to find a Black history teacher. We need to find a Latino Spanish teacher, whatever, rather than looking at our community as one of diversity.
Okay. And that was in the liaison monthly email?
Success.
I'm curious. Usually they have themes. I was just curious what would make them harp on the fact of parental involvement and the number of African American teachers available. Did they speak anything about Teach for America?
Not in either of these articles, no.
Oh. Okay. No. That's fine. I want to check that. All right. Thank you. We can go on to our legislative liaison report, Neil.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. Most of the information that I do share regarding legislative comes from a newsletter that is put out by the Ohio School Board Association and legislative liaisons. So the information I'm sharing is from the August issue, which probably came out somewhere around the 4th of the month. Real quickly, Representative Robert Cupp of Lima is the new Speaker of the House since House Holder was removed from his post. Just sharing that. As it relates to funding towards schools, a lot of this information is not necessarily brand new, but the governor had to go to a controlling board in order to approve money that was made available to the state so that they can then pass it along to the schools. So the first request was back in July, and that was for $100 million. And that was really related to COVID-19 related expenses. The PPEs, the cleaning supplies, the barriers that we're utilizing, the plexiglass barriers that we're utilizing at the front of the teachers' desks and things of that nature. And then there was additional funds that will be distributed to districts for economically disadvantaged students, students with disabilities, and English learners. And then lastly, there'll be allocations as it relates to transportation. And that is from the initial 100 million. There was a second request that was approved, and that was approved at the end of July, and that was for $50 million. And which, let me preference, that's not $50 million to SEL. It's to the state's public schools and private. This is a dollar-to-dollar matching grant program that is really designed on the technology side to be able to provide Wi-Fi hotspots, in-home internet, and then internet-enabled devices for students. The district has already been working on that. Before this was even officially approved, knowing that there was money being made available to make sure that all of our students were fully prepared from this technology standpoint for when classes start. So that's kudos to Linda and Josh and the entire team for having the forethought for that.
There's also, Neil, not to interrupt you, there's also a third allocation coming too.
Oh, great. That'll be in,
Yeah.
that'll be in next month's update then.
Yes.
And so as far as anything further at the federal level, still nothing. So stay tuned, because there is definitely money that is going to be allocated to schools. How much it will be, what strings will be attached, what it'll target or focus, who knows at this moment. A couple of quick bills that have been introduced that I'm just going to highlight. House Bill 726 to permit youth sports organizations to operate despite any state or local health order prohibiting such operation, provided the organizations implement certain health and safety precautions. House Bill 727 is to expand eligibility for the program for medically handicapped children to individuals up to the age of 26. And I believe 21, 22 might have been the end. Somebody want?
Yeah, it was through up to age 22, so through their 21st, and when they become 22, the eligibility ends.
Yeah, so this is expanding for those that probably need the additional support, and it's good to see that they are going to make sure that the services are continued a little bit longer. House Bill 731 is to raise the salary threshold above which certain employees, including hourly paid school employees, are exempt from the overtime law. I think I have one or two more. Let me just quickly look. Oh no, I have a couple of more. Senate Bill 333 to require the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to make payments in lieu of taxes to school districts, among others, for land acquisitions that total more than 5,000 acres. Senate Bill 334 is to establish June 19 or Juneteenth as a legal holiday for which government employees receive paid leave and for which school districts may dismiss school. Then Senate Bill 335 is to reduce property taxes on owner-occupied homes to the extent that property taxes increase by more than 3% from the previous year due to improvements or transfer of ownership. Not 100% sure because I did not look into the details of it, but anything that has to do with taxes being reduced as it relates to property, which affects the school districts, is, in my opinion, not a very good bill. And then Senate Bill 342, this is the last one, to require students who enter the 9th grade for the first time on or after July 1st, 2021, at least 1/2 unit of instruction in the study of financial literacy, which I think is wonderful. And quite surprised that our legislators actually came up with something that meaningful. But it is certainly something that communities, parents, teachers have been talking about as something that would be very beneficial to our youth. So that is all the legislative news that you probably wished you didn't hear. Thank you.
Neil, a couple of corrections. For the CARES Act, that's federal funding. That's not state funding.
No, yes.
Yeah, it flows through the state. The state has to apply for it through the federal government. They're the ones that send it through. Yeah, we'll have a third installment coming shortly. And it can also pick up other costs of salary benefits for people who might have otherwise either lost employment, any COVID-related casualty type of activity as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for adding that. Didn't know that. So there you go. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Neil, for that. And we can go right into Superintendent's Report, item 2.2.
Yes, good evening, everybody. The 2020-21 school year is officially underway. Just a few updates here. Actually, last Tuesday, I attended the 7:30 a.m. Rotary meeting that they have for the Hillcrest area. They wanted to hear about the South Lyndhurst Schools restart plan, and I did a presentation to them, a condensed one from the one I did with the Board of Education to talk about our responsible restart. They had a lot of great questions and actually really a lot of great feedback for what the South Lyndhurst City Schools are doing. And so it was really nice. They liked me. Actually, they felt it was so informative. They wanted to invite me back in 4 weeks and see where we're at. And I told them, well, certainly a lot can change with this. So that was a really good meeting, actually. And then yesterday we had a convocation. For those of those listening, usually convocation involves inviting all of our employees, teaching staff and non-teaching staff, to the PAC Center at Brush High School. We all get together and kick off the year and have the band play and all that. As you know, that was not something that was going to be possible. So this is my 12th school year as superintendent, and I did my first virtual convocation yesterday. It was about 45 minutes long. And, really, I did get some good feedback of a few of the employees said it felt really personal. It's nice to see the information, everybody together, but they really felt hearing the information either in a small group or one-on-one that was really good. So that was recorded, and I did send a shared copy of it to the board members earlier today. And if you did not get it, I will resend it. During these next 10 days, we've also started our professional development, and some of the highlights, obviously kicking it off with Schoology, the learning management platform for our upcoming remote learning, and actually for the future as well. So it's very well planned, really well organized. I need to give a shout out. I don't want to miss everybody, but everybody from actually Mr. Capo to Ryan Morton, the principals, and actually Melissa Thompson and our whole central office team really was involved in this. They're actually going to be completing some modules for Schoology. Ms. Thompson and her group will do some social emotional learning. There's going to be opportunity for some common assessments and lesson development with our teachers. Ms. Bussey, the district's Mrs. Bussey, the district's family and community engagement coordinator. She's actually working ahead to finish the modules because she is going to be available and help the parent and the family training piece. Because again, a perfect relationship is that, we want to make sure our teachers have the resources they need and the training you need. But on the other hand, if we do not support our parents and our families and our students, that will really be a really effective relationship. So Mrs. Bussey, their new role is actually, we've been working on providing family training. So stay tuned with that as well. There's also, to support folks, there's a Schoology task force. There are teachers in each building that have gone ahead with the training and really are, they wouldn't call themselves, all of them, experts, but they would say that they're trying to work ahead to help their colleagues. And so there's nothing like as these next 10 days as they're learning things, to have somebody on site in the buildings to be able to answer their questions and really be able to make it a very effective training. So, just a few things to, start the year off and really looking forward. It was really great to see our teachers and our staff members and security guards, our food service, secretaries, you name it, ISAs in the building and working hard to get ready for another school year. And that completes my report.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Reed. And I will put as part of your report, your Fresh soccer team just won 5-0 against Bedford.
Yay! I happened to run into one of our soccer players today, so she was telling me about it. So congratulations, that's great. So
yes, they just did. Do we have any public comment, Mr. Hill?
No.
Okay, I did not get any. Just because we're under public comment, I just want to say one thing. I was just kind of looking through that. I'm looking at a couple people asking me some questions as well. That article for success from the OSBA, Catherine, I was looking at that. I don't know, it just kind of gave me a damper feeling. And I'm like, considering the pandemic that we're in and all the damper on not going to school, it just kind of burned me inside a little bit that they would just drop a whole article about teachers of color not being here and that type of deal. So I just wanted to take a look at that success report. So I just want to clear some of the... Say that again?
I don't think they were saying that teachers of color aren't being involved. I think what they're saying is that overall, teachers of color are not getting the support that they need. I mean, new teachers in general, we know, need to be supported to be effective, excuse me, and feel like they're part of a community of learners. And she found that teachers of color were overall less supported, and that's why she was assuming that, or I shouldn't say assuming, because she's done her study. She believes that teachers of color are leaving or might be leaving the profession at a higher rate just because of that lack of support.
Okay. And as I just cross-referenced some of her institutes and research, it is titled "Why Teachers of Color Leave and What You Can Do About It," about how to start co-creating welcoming environments for teachers of color. So the monthly report was actually titled "Timely Tips to Improve Student Achievement." And part of her research on another platform was in communities where there's a high concentration of a certain culture, having teachers in front of the students that look like them contributes to student achievement and success. So I just wanted to kind of point that out because it is a damper. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do see that we are lacking males as far as in the teaching, but I just wanted to bring that up on some of her research. It wasn't necessarily all about the deficit, but what we can do to improve student achievement and getting even in like spoke on another platform how in the Hispanic community there's not a lot of teachers that are Hispanic, and that's something that would improve student achievement for those students. So I just wanted to bring that up because it kind of left me walking away sad when I thought
Yeah,
about
no, I did share that she said that teachers of color boost the academic performances of students of color and of white students as well. So she showed that there's improved reading and math test scores, improved graduation rates, increased aspirations to attend college. All of those, she found that teachers of color are bringing to the communities where they work.
Okay. All right. We can go right into item 3.1, the minutes. The August 25th regular meeting minutes of the South Euclid-Lyndhurst Board of Education. We're recommending that the minutes of the July 28th and the special meeting of August 4th and August 11th be approved as recorded or corrected. The reading of the minutes will be waived. May we get a motion to approve item 3.1?
So moved.
Oh, second.
Is that Neil?
Yes.
And second by Aaron?
Yes.
Any questions or comments there?
No.
May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Ms. Lee Harris,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
And we can go right into treasurer's report, starting with item 4.1, Mr. Hill.
Recommend for approval the following items. Item 4.1, financial reports for month end July 2020. Item 4.2, the bank reconciliation for month end July 2020. Item 4.3, the investment earnings for month end July 2020. Item 4.4, a donation from Progressive Insurance Foundation. And finally, item 4.5, a transfer of funds. This is a correction from a prior year deposit. So initially it was put into a sports, the volleyball Rotary account. Come to find out it was a volleyball scholarship deposit that should have been in there. So this is just correcting that to make sure it gets into the correct account so they can use those funds for the scholarship. So recommend for approval, item 4.1 through 4.5.
So moved. Sorry.
Second. Cassandra, you are on mute. We cannot hear you.
Sorry. Who is that? Stephanie?
Catherine motion. And Aaron
Catherine.
seconded.
Second. Any questions or comments? I do have a question. Is that what happened in that last meeting, Josh, where the volleyball money went to the wrong account? It was supposed to be the scholarship, but not the Rotary, right? Didn't we talk about that last meeting too?
No, not this one. That was when we were going through, we were adjusting over balances from current year accounts, moving them forward like the class accounts. That wasn't
Okay.
a correction. And then the other correction, there was, I think you're referring to the correction last meeting having to do with where the state messed up our second foundation. And I had to correct the year-end numbers because of it.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. May we get a roll call?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Ms. Lee Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Thank you for that. Item 5, superintendent's items.
Well, good evening, everybody, again. Before we look at item 5.1, CELTA memorandum of understanding, one of the things this past June, we did have a rollover of the collective bargaining agreement with CELTA, which is the South Euclid-Lyndhurst Teachers Association. In fact, we have rollover of all of our contracts based on the current conditions in our communities. We thought it was best that we would, keep the current salaries, free space, and roll the contract. Not to confuse anybody, but one of the things that we did not reopen up negotiations or reopen up the contract, but due to the nature of COVID, one of the things that we agreed to do is, really look at some health and safety considerations that are not typically something that you'll see, but again, in the heightened anxiety or nature of what our country and our world is facing, we have been in discussions with SALTA leadership and have really come to a good agreement that we really feel that everybody has a comfort level with regards to health and safety protocols. I think part of it you'll see in the memorandum of understanding is really, implementing a face covering policy. And it's not like we wouldn't have done these things anyways. I think that's important to know. I mean, obviously we want to be good employers, and we want to, it's not just with SALTA members, it's with everybody, that administrators, non-teaching staff. But, given consideration that, the teachers, when the children return to school, there is some uniqueness to their position with regards to the teaching and learning process. So this evening, you see and I have reviewed this with the Board of Education. I am recommending the Board of Education be asked to approve the memorandum of understanding between the South Euclid Board of Education and SALTA, which addresses health and safety protocols. I do want to mention that this is a memorandum of understanding that does sunset with this school year. And again, we don't know what the future holds. It's not to say that there can't be something in the future, but given the uniqueness of the 2021 school year, this is a recommendation for the board's consideration.
Thank you for that, Dr. Reed. Thank you for your work too. And I do commend SALTA. We're throwing MOUs like the health department is throwing mandates. So I do appreciate their flexibility and their desire to try to keep moving. So I do appreciate the hard work that you guys have put forth to come to these resolutions. May we get a motion to approve item 5.1?
So moved, Neil.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Ryan. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call?
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Lee Harris.
Aye.
Under 6.1, the recommending to the Board of Education to approve the following personnel items for certified staff. We have a staff member asking for a paid leave of absence, and then continue with an unpaid leave of absence. And I believe that's the only item on this section.
Yes. May we get a motion to approve item 6.1?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Ryan. Who did I hear say second?
I think Catherine was first. Catherine motioned. Who seconded?
I'll second.
Stephanie.
Okay.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Lee Harris.
Aye.
Okay. Under 7.1, before I make the recommendation, what I'd like to give a little bit of a background on this. again, as I mentioned earlier, this is nothing usual about the school year we're about to embark on. There is a lot of compliance in order to keep everybody safe from students and staff, and that there's a lot of oversight to that part. As we mentioned earlier, the federal government allocated what they call the CARES Act, and specifically that money is to really be geared towards things that school districts have to spend money on that they wouldn't have typically had to do if COVID wasn't there or we weren't under these current situations. And so when you really look at the, we have a staff and the MOU, and you look at the staff and safety health protocols, it's 13 pages long for our staff. There's a lot of diligence that needs to be done. And one of the things we want to do is make sure it's a checks and balance. Sure, a lot of that work is done under Mike Murphy and the Business Affairs Office, but there's also a lot of other things that office takes care of. And we want to make sure that we have a compliance officer that looks at to make sure that the oversight is being taken care of, like the bathrooms and the facilities, everything from airflow. And if you read the job description, which we submit to along with to our federal grants coordinator, again, this supplemental contract is being paid out through our federal grants. It was a very appropriate expenditure of the money because it's a temporary money, and they want you to put it for things that will help school districts maintain health and safety. So the 7.1 is the job description for that. And then 7.2, under 7.2 are the recommendations and appointment for the compliance officer for that position. And then also under 7.2, you will see that there are several resignations that we have this evening. Again, we have a paid leave of absence and then an unpaid leave of absence. I think that's it, yes.
And they are two separate votes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Let me go back to. I apologize. My screen's.
No, that's fine.
Let me go back to 7.1. Yep.
Description, and then we go into. Okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought. I was like, hold on, she's one-stop shopping here.
Yeah, getting ahead of myself a little bit.
May we get a motion to approve the job description in 7.1 for the COVID facilities manager?
Oh, sorry.
Second.
Aaron Lee Harris on the motion and Neil on the second. Any questions or comments?
This is Neil. I have a couple of more for just clarification. Will this individual be overseeing the custodial staff at the various buildings?
So basically, and Mike, I'll start off, and Mike, you can chime in. This person will actually report to Mike Murphy, the Director of Business Affairs, because Mike Murphy is really I guess you would say, the supervisor of the custodians. This person would actually be working in collaboration with the custodians, but the custodians they won't be reporting to this person.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think this is certainly due to the times, something that takes cleaning to a higher priority, and I think this is a pretty comprehensive job description. So, good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was actually my question too. So you answered it well. Thank you.
It's not business. I guess what we want to tell folks is, and we in a lot of districts. I'll just keep it with ours. We know it's not business as usual, and we really want to. As you said, we want to have our buildings of our custodians. Like I told everybody, they do an outstanding job. We are asking them to do things beyond what has been typical, and the intensity and you'll see the custodians going around 3 times a day are, cleaning the restrooms and that. You'll see them constantly touching cleaning disinfecting high touch areas. They've been trained with the Mr. Murphy electro. It's like a electrostatic cleaner. And so those are things that we're happy that we're doing, but there needs to also be support for that area. So thank you.
All right, may we get a roll call for item 7.1?
Ms. Lee Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Okay, now I'm back to where I need to be. I recommend to the Board of Education to approve the following personnel items for classified staff. I do want to make note, as I mentioned earlier, that the appointment for the COVID safety compliance and facilities manager, that is paid, as you can see, the funding source where it says CARES. So that is actually out of the federal funds that was that Mr. Bloomberg talked about earlier this evening and Mr. Hill. And then the other items, again, ratification of resignations that we have a paid and an unpaid leave of absence.
All right, may we get a motion to approve item 7.2?
So moved, Catherine.
Second, Stephanie.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, is Javier, was he part of our custodial staff? This name sounded familiar to me.
He's actually, well, the last, I don't know if it's been 3 years or 5 years. He's really familiar with our facilities because when we had the Energy Star program, his job was to go in during the wee hours of the night and on weekends and look at our systems and our ventilation. So is a really good fit for this because he's familiar with our facilities and he's familiar with the operational piece of our physical plant facilities. So you may have been familiar with it that way.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other questions or comments? No? Hearing none, may we get a roll call?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Lee Harris.
Aye.
Under 8.1, let me start at the top here. It is fall season. I'm recommending to the Board of Education to approve the following supplemental contracts for the fall. And I'm just going to scroll down for those folks looking at it. It mostly includes our fall sports, our football, our soccer, boys and girls. You will see head coaches, assistant coaches. We have tennis, cheerleading, cross country. And again, not only just high school there, you're going to see our junior high programs as well. And also we start to get into our music, our marching band. And we do put our unpaid volunteers in this section as well. One of the things, again, for those listening, when you see that, when you look at, I think it's like, Appendix D of the collective bargaining agreement. I mean, these are all positions that are dictated by a contract, and they are negotiated in the sense by really size of a program and or the safety amount of oversight that's needed by personnel for the safety of the program that you see. So just want to get that there for folks who may be listening for the first time.
May we get a motion to approve item 8.1?
So moved.
Stephanie? Second, can I second myself?
Second. I was on mute, sorry.
All right, Aaron, any questions or comments?
I
do
did.
have a comment. Go ahead.
Justin Wilson, he's assistant football coach. But what is strength coach? Is that just in the Excel Tech program, or what does that
No,
mean?
it actually is a supplemental position in the Celtic collective bargaining agreement. It's separate. Strength and conditioning coach is separate than the football. It's not just for football. It's supposed to be, I think, for strength and conditioning of athletes. So it is a separate training piece. Justin Murphy, who is the strength and conditioning coach, I can see why you would make the connection, because he is also the exercise science sports rehabilitation teacher. So it does make perfect sense that with his expertise, that he is obviously knows the science behind it, and so he works with our athletes and our coaches with regards to strength and conditioning.
And not to interrupt, but
Go ahead.
it's also kids that are not athletes as well. So anybody in the building
Okay.
can come down after school, and he's the coach, strength coach for those kids as well.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Is it my understanding too, he works with the PE classes, any class that comes into that gym area as well? I know the weightlifting classes there, weightlifting 1 and 2, all of the PE classes, kids that are going through therapy from different sports
Yes.
injuries.
Yeah.
After they deal with Tina, they go
Right.
over to Justin. So I think he is pretty district wide. And
Well, I think, yep.
if
I
I'm
think
not
that's
mistaken, he also issues out workout plans for
Yeah, he
kids.
does all of that. Even Memorial Boys, when football players went over to see him last week, he worked with them. So he's been doing a lot. I've seen him, and I'm not even the athletic or that parent, but I have seen him do a lot within this upcoming season for sports.
And I do think that's why the title of the position really is a little bit misleading, because he's more encompassing. Because when you think of strength and conditioning coach, you just think of, and to Mr. Murphy's point, in that it's just not working with athletes, and he does work with the physical education department and different things like that. And again, his background really suits him being in that position.
All right. Any further questions or comments? May we get a
yeah,
roll call? Sorry.
What is the girls faculty manager? What is that position, that role?
And I'm going to start off, and then I'm going to let the former athletic director, Mr. Murphy, make sure that I've encompassed it. What happens is when you have boys or girls, there are athletic events where money needs to be collected. There are responsibilities, I think, of getting the referees or any officials. Yeah, and so they do support getting all that out of the way. You might say, well, doesn't the athletic director do that? But they do, but there's just so much more to that. Mr. Murphy, did I get that right?
That's correct. They do a lot with the money collection, counting the money, even like at halftime of a game before the AD counts it again, just to verify that the numbers are correct. Getting the workers, the clock worker, the ticket taker, being the host for when the other school shows up to show them to their locker rooms, making sure, double checking for safety of the whatever field or court they're using. They actually check for the safety of those things after the athletic director does as well. So they have quite a big responsibility.
And if go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, if I recall correctly, I think I seen it on here. Sue Drinka is the one at Brush, and I know when we used to be there, she was the first in and the last out.
That is correct.
That was the point I was going to make, that they have to be on site, and sometimes we have multiple sporting events that are taking place, some that are away and some that are home, and so they are definitely a big responsibility is being present at some of those events as well.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Ms. Lee Harris, Aaron?
Aaron, you're live.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Mr. Bloomberg?
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Okay. We're under 9.1, transportation bus routes. This is something that we routinely do, recommending that the Board of Education approve the 2020-2021 transportation bus routes. We do have buses running, and there are bus routes taking place with regards to our non-publics, and of course our Excel Tech students who will be transported to those programs that may be non-remote. Yeah. See, 9.2 recommends the Board of Education to consider participation in the National School Lunch Program, and resolves the following prices remain unchanged. Again, you can see those prices there. And 9.3, recommending approval of the business items 9.1, 9.2 as presented.
May we get a motion to approve item 9.1 through 9.2?
So moved.
No, second, Catherine.
Ms. Lee Harris and Ms. Falkenberg. Any questions or comments? I do have a comment. First of all, I actually opened up that Brush lunch program file that came to my email as a parent the other day. And I think I heard and I knew, but so there's going to be a few locations throughout the cities where yellow buses will be parked to provide meals for the kids, the grab and go bags, which I thought was awesome because some parents had questions about kids leaving home and then walking, and their parents not being home. So I think it was like 4 locations, like Anderson Field, Bexley. So that was very interesting to me. And then the other question I have is, I know it says you have to, whoever picks them up has to give their ID number. Is that going to be consistent, or is it going to fall along the lines of how we did this past summer when we extended the program?
Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let Assistant Superintendent Melissa Thompson chime in a little bit with this, but you are absolutely correct. We are going to have some, I'll call it satellite places, because we realize that you may be a Brush student, but it might be closer to you to go to one of these satellite places rather than try to get in the car and or drive or walk over there. So I'm very proud of the work of Ms. Thompson and our food service, Mike Murphy, that has done that, because we have fed children and families all summer. We've gotten a lot of thanks from that, and we are continuing to rock and roll with providing those food services. So Ms. Thompson, I see that you're here. Is there anything that you want to add to that?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Reed, for the opportunity. And I will also tag team this response with Mr. Murphy, so if he can also come on live as well. We worked together, throughout this time since March to make sure that, the needs of our students and families were met with the grab and go. And so certainly as we begin the school year, there are different provisions that must come into play and be in place to move forward. And so we looked at, where students are and spots that might be necessary as drop-off points. And Mr. Murphy was kind to review that with us, with student services, having those relationships and connections with children and families as to where they are and what would be convenient. And so I will defer to Mr. Murphy to explain the process now of using that ID number to help with the distribution of meals.
Yeah, the federal government over the summer basically had a waiver in place that allowed all school districts to go ahead and feed the kids without getting those numbers. You didn't have to be on free and reduced. Everybody was free at that point in our district. Now it's ending. As of August 31st, that waiver goes away. So at that point, now we have to have your student ID number. Free and reduced kids obviously will continue to receive that, although they do have to reapply again this year, just like they do every year. And then those that have to pay will be able to pick up those lunches. We can pick up lunches at any of the 6 schools. So if a high school student lives by Sunview, they can walk to Sunview and get a lunch at Sunview. They just need their ID number and put it in. It doesn't matter if they're free and reduced or paid, they can do that. We do have the 4 buses that will be parked. One's going to be at Bexley Park. One's going to be at Corey Park North. One is going to be at Anderson Field. And one is going to be at the Lyndhurst Pool. We figured those 4 spots, a yellow school bus will be there with a cashier and a bus driver, and they will have meals on the bus to be able to hand out to kids as well. They would still need their ID number, but we figured that those kind of filled some holes of people that weren't necessarily close to a school. Kind of filled those gaps where you don't have to cross over maybe Mayfield Road or something to walk to a school. So we're hoping we kind of hit those gaps a little bit. But yeah, you do have to have your ID number at this point. But at least a family of 3 that have kids in 3 different schools could go to one school, give all 3 ID numbers, and get a lunch from that school.
Okay.
If I may also add, Dr. Reed,
Thank you.
just to share, have to give credit and wonderful kudos and acknowledgement to the SEL Nutrition Services team with Chris, and Ann Brizzy. They were so instrumental in making things happen, certainly since March, but also in the development of this plan, having conversations, brainstorming. They are making it happen every day. And so they relied on, feedback and of their team and what's working and what's not, and feedback. They've been out there every day serving. And so certainly wanted to make sure that there was an acknowledgement and appreciation for their hard work and effort, recognized and deeply appreciated.
Yeah, thank you for adding that.
And another big acknowledgement to both mayors, as I reached out to both of them about parking our buses in the parks. They were more than willing, and right away think about it and said, absolutely. Go ahead and park your buses there from 11 to 12 and allow the kids to come to those parks. I know some of those parks might have been closed during this time. They were willing to allow us to come 11 to 12 and invite people into the park to go ahead and do that. So big appreciation to both mayors.
I just want to say how proud this makes me as a board member to see the way everyone has worked this out for our students. It almost brings me to tears. I just think it's a wonderful job that you all have done, and I appreciate it.
It's a great team effort, and that's why we're the destination, we're the place to be. And that's so. Thank you.
I will say I was actually in the grocery store the other day, and I had on my ARC mask, so I forgot I had that mask on. But the lady stopped me, and she goes, "Are you a student?" Thanks for the compliment. I said, "No, I'm a parent." And then so my friend goes, "Well, she's a board member also." But the lady went on to say that her grandkids attend our school district, and her daughter is actually, I guess, either STNA or something of that sort. And medical field, that she worked a lot of overtime during the pandemic, and the free meals actually helped her kids. And I guess for her family, I don't know, either Jerome Jackson or someone, she said, will bring the meals to her family and to her grandkids every day. And she is very, very appreciative of that. So that made my heart smile greatly and tremendously to know that we are helping families to that extent.
That's awesome. So I will say, as we look throughout the weeks and we see that people come back and revisit our board meetings. So I do want to say for the parents, there are quite a few many villages that are making plans on helping each other and families get ready for this different way of learning and feeding the kids. So for those parents that are listening, make sure you get the ID numbers for the students that you're going to be helping provide meals for, because I know we got quite a few parents that are kind of doing drops, picking up other meals for other people. So make sure you get those in. And then it's another shameless plug. Make sure we get the applications in for the lunch. You can go online and do the application. I know that tends to be a difficult task sometimes because the kid has to bring that back into the school and people don't want to declare their economic status. But now I see the link is here. We can get that link clicked and submit it with no pressure. We just want to make sure we can accurately count for our families and our numbers and get the kids fed. So parents that are listening, please do your part. We're trying to make it a little easier for you. We just need you to do your part and do those compliance measures.
And I'll give one more plug for the parents listening. Please pay online. Go online to Easy Pay and deposit money onto their account. We really want to try to get away from cash transactions, especially during this time. We're trying to get away from the cash transactions. So please go online to that Easy Pay as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. May we get a roll call?
Ms. Lee Harris,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Okay. Under 10.0, the first one, 10.1, recommending for the Board of Education to approve the Exercise Science and Sports Rehabilitation Student Handbook. This is something that we do every year. Typically, there is just some minor changes and adjustments to it. The next one, 10.2, is the project agreement for Stewart and Associates. Just a little back for those that may not be familiar. Again, we do get federal fund grants, and if anybody hasn't worked in grants, it is quite detailed and intricate. And there is Mr. Stewart helps us with the CCIP, and it's an agreement to help us move the grants through with ease and make the availability of those funds a lot quicker. Under 10.3, this might be a familiar vendor, LifeTouch. Several years back, we've had LifeTouch. I believe when I first came to the district, I don't believe that at the time the principals in LifeTouch, things were not actually to the level of expectation. We went with another company. That other company was actually bought out by LifeTouch. And typically what I do with this, because it actually gets down to the building level, the services. I can tell you as a former building principal, portrait pictures years ago, and people buying pictures was a big business. I think the idea with the cell phone and people taking their own pictures, a lot of these companies have struggled. What we'd like to do is actually what I'm told with this contract is that this LifeTouch is showing a lot more flexibility and a lot more affordability. And I believe like you can take the picture and then you buy that, but you can take it to Walmart or Walgreens. And so, again, we're going to give this a go. Again, these type of studios, it is a little bit different today, but we are going to reconnect, make the recommendation to reconnect with LifeTouch studios, which we've used in the past. And then 10.4 is recommended approval of the superintendent's teaching and learning items as presented.
May we get a motion to approve items 10.1 through 10.3?
So moved.
So moved.
No.
Yeah. Stephanie
I'll
and
second them.
Catherine?
Yeah.
Any questions or comments?
I have one quick comment that kind of applies to all of the policies. There was a lot of reading in this month's preparation for the meeting. And I appreciate that when we're looking at things that we see year after year, but there are changes and adjustments, how you take the effort to highlight the changes so you can scan through something and see the kind of change that was made, because that would have taken me days to read all the stuff to prepare for this week's meeting, but that was very beneficial, so thank you.
Well, good. Yeah, I know you can start looking at things and it's just like, what exactly, is different from the previous year. So I applaud my team for doing that extra effort for you guys.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Ryan,
Sorry, couldn't find the button. Aye.
Mrs. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Lee Harris.
Aye.
Under 11.0, student services, first of all, recommending under 11.1, the Board of Education to approve the following student code of conduct handbooks for K-6 and 7-12. To Mr. Bloomberg's point, Ms. Thompson did a nice job with regards to highlighting those areas, which you are going to see in the handbook. Obviously, the changes of titles and positions and different things like that. But what we did was also insert in the handbook, when we passed the facial covering policy, I believe last on August 11th, there's a domino effect to that. If you look in that policy, it does say that there will be a part of an enforcement piece with regards to students. And that, so again, you'll see in many places of the handbook where we had to insert new language based on a previously approved policy. So that is 11.1. And again, I reviewed the changes there. And then 11.2 is recommending the agreements for the non-public schools to be paid for auxiliary services Title I or IDAB for Corpus Christi. Those are for our non-publics. We are the fiscal agent, and those funds come through either Title I or IDAB.
Do these need to be separate votes, Linda?
Yeah, I did it again, didn't I, huh?
All right, so
I
let's
just didn't
go
know for
with-
sure if they needed to be.
Now, you know what, I was wondering, yeah, I guess so. They should be,
Why?
yeah, that's what I guess I'm looking, because they're actually, I don't really,
One's not building off the other.
what's that?
One's not building off the other. I wouldn't think they'd have to have a second vote unless somebody had a conflict and would ask for a second vote.
Well, the only way, you're right about that, because one's for a contract and the other one is actually for a student code of conduct books. So maybe that's why it was put on separately. And, I'm not used to them being separated, but it doesn't matter. Mr. Hill, your call here.
We can take them all in one vote if everybody's okay.
You guys okay? Okay.
That's fine. We'll just change the bottom of 11.2. That's fine. So may we get a motion to approve item 11.1 and 11.2?
So moved.
Second, Bloomberg.
Ms. Harris and Mr. Bloomberg. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Okay, we are under special education. We have 12.1 is recommending the approval of our related services with Belfair Jewish Children's Bureau for the 2021 school year at Monarch School. And you can see the tuition rate there with regards to this contract. 12.2 is recommending a contract with Special Needs Solutions to provide consulting services at a rate of $68 per hour, not to exceed $35,000. That will be for the term of July 1st to June 30th to be paid out of the general funds. And then under 12.3, recommending contract services Galtax to provide family liaison services at the rate of $40 per hour, not to exceed $20,000 for the term of the 2020-2021 school year. Again, for those folks who are not familiar with it, these are actually some contracts we've had in the past that really provide support services, especially 12.2, 12.3, again, for our families and also our staff. And then 12.4, recommending the approval of the aforementioned special education items, 12.1 to 12.3.
All right, may we get a motion to approve item 12.1 through 12.3?
So moved.
So moved.
Who took the so moved? Who took it?
Catherine.
All right, I'll second it.
So we got Catherine and Neil. Any questions or comments? I mean, it's good to see Ms. around with us for so long. She's been around for a while. These are truly benefiting from her affiliation. So I do appreciate her longevity. Go ahead, Neil. I thought I heard you.
Just for my own personal better understanding, what type of service does Gail Takis provide as that liaison?
Sure. Ms. Mills, I know you're listening this evening. Could you provide some description of some of the family services that Ms. Takis provides?
Yes. So Ms. Takis has been with us now for 6 years, and her services are exclusively for students with disabilities. And what she does is she's kind of the mend between the school and the family. When we run into students that have some significant needs and need additional supports, sometimes our families aren't necessarily sure how to navigate that system. And it provides resources to the school when the students are able to access those. So we have her make contacts with the families. She will go to appointments with them. She helps fill out paperwork for them. So she's just kind of that go-between. In her previous career, she worked for the county board. And so she has a lot of ins and connections that can help our families navigate the systems to get the supports their kids need.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just curious, because she's working specifically with our students with disabilities, is there not governmental or title money that would pay for this? I mean, I know that you apply for everything that you can, but I was just curious.
Ms. Mills, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. So, yes, we have used federal funds in the past for it. And what we also found too is that she works with some of our students that come into the district under foster placements. And we are able to bill back to the districts when we have students who are foster placed. And unfortunately, if we use federal funds to provide any of those services, we're not able to bill back. So it was kind of trying to navigate where we wanted to use the funds.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more of a strategic financial decision.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that.
All right. Hearing no other questions or comments, may we get a roll call?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Lee Harris,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
And before we get to the policies again, and I know this is not my section, but I would like to just give a little bit of a background. Actually, tonight there's actually one that will be for an action item, and that would be the transportation. If you recall, we had a first read with regards to going to a 2-mile minimum based on safe and healthy protocols. When you look at the policy, you will see that there is a policy that's the sexual violence delete policy. That is not a local decision. That is a recommendation that comes from Neola, the group that school districts work with regards to staying up to date on legislation. And then what you will notice that a few of them, like attendance, there is, again, because we're going to remote learning, attendance is going to be seen a little bit differently. So there, what we wanted to be was consistent. The Board of Education approved in July the responsible restart plan for the 2021 school year. So really what you'll see is language that's consistent with regards to what we have in that plan. You don't want to have, inconsistencies with the policy and things like that. So we realize that might be a little bit of a uniqueness for this school year. but we'll take it one step at a time. But I just wanted to, most of our revisions, and those revisions come out of recommendations due to, legislative changes or how revised codes. So just wanted to, Board President Jones, just make that comment before we go through the policies.
All right. We appreciate that. We can put the new unfinished business at the end since you already went into policies if you like.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So these following policies are presented for first read and preliminary review. We are voting to adopt these policies at the meeting that will be coming on September 15th. So if you guys have any questions about the first reads during this time, we can gather those prior to that meeting. Item 13.4, may we get a motion for the first read of the policies that are here listed?
So moved.
Ms. Lee Harris, Ms. Falkenberg. Any questions or comments?
Yes, now that I seconded it, just want to make sure. So the policy adoption is for the first read of the policy, correct?
Right, these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that are on first read, and then there is an adoption for 8600, which is transportation.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, may we call Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee Harris,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Now we'll flip back up to any information. Does anybody have information they might want to bring forward?
I do. I think I told you all before that the Black Caucus was in the middle of they were doing their scholarship selection earlier this month from the 2019-20 school year. The Northeast region, which is where we are, Breast, has the highest number of applicants. But this year, a very own Breast graduate was granted a scholarship from Ohio, from OSBA Black Caucus, and it's Nina Green. So that was exciting when I got that text message letting me know that all the
I'm
candidates.
sorry, Erin. You were breaking up.
Where did you miss me now?
Okay.
Green scholarship from OSBA Black Caucus. Out of all of the scholars or all of the people who candidates who we wrote in, she was the winner and the first ever from Buck High School.
Good.
Anybody else?
That's awesome, though.
That's good.
I know that, and Cassandra or Stephanie might be able to add a little more detail. There's going to be a garage sale taking place at somebody's home, I believe on this Saturday, and all the proceeds will be benefiting my wife just screamed from the other room, the Wittels, she thinks. And all the proceeds benefit the after prom committee, I believe.
I think it's Adrian Repko's house.
Oh,
I believe it is because they're storing everything there. So I think it's Adrian's house. But the hotels are working it. So you're right on that aspect.
Yeah, it's 1179 Blanchester. I just looked it up.
thanks for that clarification.
1179 Blanchester, Friday, 9 to 3, Saturday, 9 to 3.
So just for the record, you guys only go for the garage sale. Once the garage sale is over, don't go to her house.
Bring an umbrella.
Yeah.
So that's good news. And then September does start the council meetings for this school year. We were looking at September 8th for Lyndhurst and September 14th for South Euclid. I believe I am slotted to attend, so I will be virtually attending those. I will reach out to City Council in South Euclid to be certain that I have a link, or do I just call in? So I will deal with that. Linda, I did have a request. I don't know if you feel comfortable either Can I get a preview of your restart plan to presented at Hillcrest? I know we want kind of the same we did at Hillcrest, but considering how it's a little different, because when we went together, we were on a partial return back to school. So if you want to send me that, or if you want to be there, whatever works for you, it doesn't matter to me.
You know what? I could do both. I mean, send me the. I can certainly send you something, and then if you tell me the date again, I'll look to see what my availability.
Okay.
What day did you say that?
Monday, September 14th for South Euclid.
I mean, I'm doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. So I have no problem being there with you. It's not like I go anywhere. So I wrote it down, and we could do both. Okay.
And then on the 8th of September, I'm just going to do Lyndhurst by myself because we did meet with them in August. But remember, South Euclid doesn't meet in August. So that's why we weren't with them in August.
Gotcha. All right. I'll be ready September 14th. Okay.
Yep. Did you say something, Catherine? I missed you.
You mean the 7th, that Monday, right? Because the 8th is Tuesday.
They go on Tuesday because I believe Monday is Labor Day. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So are we not having our work sessions that Tuesday? The 8th?
Oh, you know what?
We have.
Maybe that was an old.
We're not.
Normally,
Oh, yes, we are. I do have it on the 8th. I do have us having a work session on the 8th.
Yeah. We're scheduled for the 8th.
Yes, we
yeah,
are. I can still get to them in between. You know, I can deal with them still.
Okay.
They don't start until 7:30 though, right?
Say that again.
They don't start until 7:30, correct?
Right, they start at 7:30.
Okay.
we'll be done. We'll be done. I'm done.
Not that I want you to have to meet all evening and be on different meetings all evening.
Hey, I got 2 screens, okay? I can't even work one.
I don't have any other information. I think that's all for me.
Cassandra, I just wanted to share one thing. I don't have anybody on the soccer team, but I'm still on Coach DiMattio's emails. And I just thought it was so cool. They played Brunswick last week for the first game. And the Brunswick coach sent such a fantastic message to Coach DiMattio, just thanking our boys for being such great sports. And it's hard right now because they can't do anything after the game to be like, good job. But I guess some of our kids reached out to their kids on social media to congratulate them for a well-played game because we lost like 5-0. And the coach there just thought that was really, really phenomenal. And he was really impressed by our actions of our kids. So I just wanted to point that out there and give them their props.
Yeah, that was really
That's wonderful.
game, and it was weird. Like, that was the first game wherever, like, when it was almost time to be over, they were like, please vacate the stadium, no socializing, no waiting. If you're waiting for kids, wait by your car. It was so weird for the kids, even the kids, because they're used to talking. So my son said the same thing. By the time they got home, a lot of them now follow each other on Instagram, and they were wishing each other well, asking what schools they're attending, telling each other they were good soccer players and they can't wait to see them at a collegiate level. So I thought that was pretty lovely too. And then for DMAT to send that email, because we always tend to find the bad in kids, and when things don't work out or someone loses, like they lost that night, but they played so well as a strong team. And he has a big lineup of seniors. So you guys might have to give DMAT some counseling because he's losing a lot of kids this year as seniors. So yes, thank you, Stephanie, for bringing that out because I forgot about that.
No worries.
Mr. Hill, do we have any public comment? I don't believe I've seen any more either.
We had one come through.
You want to
Aaron sent it over to you. Me and you. Want me to read it?
No, I won't make you work. Where did Aaron send it?
I sent it to your district email.
Oh, thank you, Miss Lee Harris.
You're welcome.
All right. It says, title question about school day. What is that noise?
Oh, that's, you know what? So my computer looks like it's hissing a little bit. Sorry. I could,
Race car.
That's what I thought it was.
Okay, so I guess I'm the model child for the district. All my family's home now and my Wi-Fi is just spinning. So Josh, please read it. Sorry.
It is from Nicole Hankins. And she had a question. It says, I am a parent with 2 kids, one at Sunview, one starting at Greenview. The day is so long. How do we expect the children to pay attention or stay engaged in learning, being in the comfort of their own home?
So first, I want to thank you, Ms. Hankins, for your public comment. I'll just give my input, and then if someone wants to jump in, they can tell me if I'm wrong. So the day is so long, meaning like it's the regular hours of school, but it's my understanding that kids won't have to be logged on every minute of the day. And if families think their kids need a break, isn't it my understanding that some of this will be recorded or archived to where they can check in later? Or is that not an option all the way across the board?
Yes, it is. However, I'm going to interrupt Cassandra and just go over. I received a remote schedule for Adrian yesterday because I put Adrian, and it actually didn't seem bad. They log on at 8, or they don't even log on. It says wake up at 8, rise and shine, wash up, get dressed, eat breakfast, log on at 8:30. That's morning attendance as well as family meetings. 9 o'clock, the whole class language arts. 9 through 11, they have small group language arts. 11 to 12 is your lunch break. 12 to 12:30 is whole class math. 12:30 to 2 is small group math. 2 to 2:30 is your encore, which is your last class. And that they only do Monday, Tuesday. Well, I think this is the entire district. It's just Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And my understanding from Assistant Superintendent Capel that Wednesday will be for special meetings, if you need catch up and things of that sort for the students. I will say that I sent that schedule myself to a few educators that I do know to get ideas and suggestions from them as to how I am able to keep my 6th grader, 7th grader, and 3rd grader engaged. And she sent me a plethora of things that have worked for her because she is in Atlanta and they've already been doing the virtual learning. I think this is unfortunately though, when we as parents have to think outside of the box. I do know I can't have my child in the dining room or the kitchen because they'll become distracted. So I have to set up an area in Riley's room where it's just her, to have her computer, have her set it up as if it is a desk like she's in school. So she knows that, you know what, this is your school time and this is your school day. Every parent that I have talked to that has started it so far, that has set the actual structured time, actually finds it to be more successful for their students, and it wasn't as bad as they thought it would be. So I would just say patience is what we're asking for, one, and to work with us. And if you do find it is a problem when we do start, please contact your teacher, the student's teacher. Please contact your administrator so we can try to think outside of the box for other areas. But it really is. We're all doing this. It is all new to us. So the only expectation that we really do have for you right now is to make sure that your child logs on. Everything else after that is us honestly just trying to get there with working together with you as parents, with our teachers, with our administrators to ensure that our children are successful at this. It won't be perfect, y'all. We won't lie to you. We know it won't be perfect. Our administrators know this will not be perfect. We know that it will have challenges and it will not be easy. But we just ask if you can work with us. If you see that when your child logs on and they're having a problem, they're having difficulty, don't wait. I will say don't wait. Contact the teacher, contact the counselors that we do have within the school building, contact the school principal so we can offer some assistance to see where we can better assist and help where we are needed.
Yeah, I think to add to that, most parents or most teachers are having little breaks especially for elementary, so that they're not sitting. They should not be sitting for an hour in front of a screen. And I think the teachers are going to be cognizant of that, so they will have little breaks to move around, PE, dancing. I think there are several different ways that they can get kids away from the screen for a few minutes. So it will not be as maybe as crazy as it seems to be when you think about a first or second grader sitting in front of a screen all day.
Dr. Reed, I think I've seen you.
Yeah, just real quick on that. First of all, yeah, we know it's flexibility and adapting to things. Mr. Cape was not here this evening. I sent him out to Memorial, had a football game out there. I just went to observe and assist out in that area. But I can tell you that the schedule, they call it Reset Wednesdays for that reason. You go Monday and Tuesday, and just on those Wednesdays, just to be able to, we know pushing through the week has been hard for folks on all ends, the parents who are working with their children and the teachers. So we are looking to make sure that their supports are in place. I know Ms. Thompson. So I would say to any family out there, not the one that just wrote the question in, if they find that adapting to this type of schedule is even more difficult than they envisioned, I first say yes, reach out to the teacher, reach out to the principal, but Ms. Bussey, again, in her new role with working with families and supports, we want to be there for you too. So we're going to take this one step together, and the structure is important. I think on both ends. I think we heard that loud and clear from both families. And we also heard that from the teaching staff. So we're working on a schedule that does provide breaks. We have synchronous and asynchronous learning, to Ms. Jones's point, where we realize that they may not physically be able to be in front of there, but the computer, but have to log in because attendance will be taken within a 24-hour period. So again, we'll just get this together and we'll really try to adapt. But I think most of you hit it on the head, my board members, with regards to answering this person's question, this parent's question, excuse me.
Thank you. I will say I did use my family as an example. I know my sister was about sick of it, but they're in Florida and they're finishing up they're into their first week of at-home learning. So my sister works all day and my mom is there. So I called today and I'm like, I just called to make sure the substitute teacher was woke and all her students are in class. So my mom turns this video camera around. My younger niece, she's in second grade. So she's sitting at a table all gung-ho, pencils in her hand, not a piece of paper. Then she's on her laptop. My other niece is starting ninth grade. She's at another table in the room. She has her hoodie on, her pullover, her school stuff, and she looks like a rebel. I'm like, so this is how you're going to do this? And she was like, this is dumb. And I'm like, well, you just better do your work. And then my other niece, starting her freshman year in college, she's up in her room logging on to her classes. And I just looked at my mom and I'm like, how's the lunch aide, PE teacher, assistant teacher doing? And she goes, this is fine. I can do this. I said, who would have ever thought in your 60s that you turn into an educator? But for the most part, just like Erin said, my sister did the same thing. She tried to give them some things to break the monotony. So she's got like a table in the garage. When the weather is nice, they're out in the front yard, just moving it around. But she did put rules in place, like they're not allowed to be in their bed on their computers doing school, and they have to get up and get dressed. She's making them get up and get dressed. They have to get up and eat breakfast. So she's trying to give them the consistency before she leaves for work and my mom takes over. So it definitely is going to be different. And we're just going to have to figure out how to manage it. And sometimes that's going to take creating little villages. I know we're used to our own tiny village, but sometimes we're going to have to branch out. And if that means a group of friends that might want to tap in to help, we'll be there to do that. And then I told another parent earlier this week, we have an awesome support staff for our students and families. So if there's something that you need, like Erin said, don't hesitate to reach out. So I don't believe we have a need for executive session. Am I correct?
That would be correct.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. Can we get a motion to adjourn if I don't hear anything else? Nobody wants to leave?
You broke up a bit. I'll move that. I'll move. Yes, so moved.
All right. Ms. Falkenberg, can we get a second?
Second.
Ms. Lee Harris. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, maybe get a roll call. It is now 7:46.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Ms. Lee Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Bloomberg,
Sorry. Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.